Winter storms are barreling across the U.S., blamed for dozens of deaths nationwide. But forecasters say the end is in sight as more snow falls across the country. Amid the Arctic cold temperatures, Teslas in Chicago haven't been able to hold up. We hear from an expert on why electric vehicles break down in freezing cold temperatures. The White House is making it feasible for student loan borrowers to get out of debt. That's by sidestepping the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling last year on student loan forgiveness. We'll tell you about the plan. North Korea says more nuclear weapon tests are underway, this time with underwater attack drones. State media are calling it retaliation after the U.S. and two allies launched nearby naval drills. Scary moments in the skies over Miami as a Boeing 747 catches fire mid-flight. We'll have more on this emergency landing. Tensions are rising between some European Union countries and their relationships with communist China. Many want China to fix the trade imbalance and to stop supporting the Russian war in Ukraine. We'll explain. And the winners are out for the NTD International Figure Painting Competition. We have the latest from the awards ceremony in New York City. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Jack Bradley. Tens of thousands of student loan borrowers will see their debts go away under a new program from the Biden administration. The plan, which opponents say will help the wealthy free themselves of student loan debt at the expense of the poor, is launching ahead of schedule. President Biden is keeping with his promise to eliminate student loan debt by speeding up a program to forgive some borrowers starting next month. Under the SAVE program, enrolled borrowers will be eligible if they originally took out $12,000 or less to have to go to school and have been making payments for at least 10 years. Now, President Biden is moving forward with the student loan debt relief program. That's despite the U.S. Supreme Court striking down a broader plan last June. Republicans are calling the acceleration of the program an attempt to win voters ahead of this year's election. The U.S. Education Department does not immediately know how many borrowers will be eligible for the program, which wasn't slated to begin until this summer. The push toward global conservatism is being echoed at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. A pair of speeches at the event this week highlighting this effort shocked some people across the globe. NTD's Arian Pazdar has highlights of both.
Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, spoke at this year's World Economic Forum. He called out Western elites for allegedly trading freedom for collectivism.
The Western world is in danger, and it is endangered because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty.
Conservatives praised Milei's remarks, comparing his straightforward approach to former President Trump. In speaking to participants, the president of the Heritage Foundation says the World Economic Forum needs to refocus. He also told the audience what the next Republican White House administration should look like.
I will be candid and say that the agenda that every single member of the administration needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them wholesale.
He added the goal of such a list would be to take away the power of unelected bureaucrats. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
North Korea is testing its underwater nuclear weapons system this week. The update comes from the North Korean state media, who's calling the move retaliation over joint military drills by South Korea, the United States, and Japan. The test involves the country's nuclear-capable underwater attack drones. It happened in the waters off the country's east coast. The report did not say when it was held, and the test has not been independently verified. Pyongyang's evolving nuclear and missile threats have prompted three allies to take countermeasures. A three-day naval exercise ran through Wednesday, with U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson joining the event. South Korea's defense ministry issued a Friday warning, calling for an immediate halt to North Korea's weapon tests. Some frightening moments from the crew aboard a Boeing 747 jet headed to Puerto Rico. One of the plane engine catches fire mid-air, forcing emergency landing in Miami. As you see from this video that was posted on social media, flames are shooting from one of the plane's engines as it takes off. The Boeing 747, operated by Atlas Air, suffered engine failure, sparking a fire visible from the ground. A spokesperson for the cargo jet company says the pilots followed emergency protocols and landed the jet safely with no one hurt. FAA inspectors later found a softball-sized hole above the malfunctioning engine. The investigation into the cause is ongoing. Winter storm alerts are battering the east and west coasts today with another round of frigid temperatures. Now, the 2-week icy plunge is causing power outages, slick roads, and people freezing to death from Oregon to Tennessee. The weather is about to get a little better, however, as forecasters say a thaw is coming. Across the country, at least 50 people have died during the past 2 weeks because of these winter storms. Forecasters say this new storm system could drop anywhere between 1 to 3 inches of snow across a wide area of some places, getting up to 6 inches. Now, Baltimore, New York, and Washington, D.C. are already seeing snow as the storm moves across the Midwest and into the Northwest through tonight. Dangerous road conditions is forcing school closures, and thousands of flights have already been delayed or canceled, stranding passengers. According to the National Weather Service, we can expect a winter thaw with forecasts showing above-average temperatures across most of the country. Tesla and EV owners in Chicago have been having trouble charging their vehicles due to this extreme cold. This is happening while the nation's energy and transportation departments are pouring billions into building and charging stations across the country. Now, President Biden has a goal of having half of all new electric vehicle sales be electric by 2030. Now, author and engineer Ronald Stein says this is not feasible.
The problem is that manufacturers are loading up the supply chain with EVs on dealer lots, but they're not seeing the demand for EVs coming from the public. The current EV owners, they're dramatically different from most of the vehicle owners. Unlike the profile of the current EV owners, most owners are single car owners. They are potential buyers, are not as highly educated. They're not as highly compensated as elite owners. And mandating a change to EV ownership and forced austerity, may face a rebellion from those that need affordable vehicle transportation. The problem is, like I said, these work in temperate climates, because if it's cold, you want the heater on, but Jack, the heater runs off the battery, and if it's hot, you want the air conditioner running. Well, the air conditioner runs off the battery.
What's your advice for EV owners? Should they keep their EVs? Should they switch to gas cars or hybrids if they're living in these areas that are extremely cold?
Well, the EVs, like I say, for the elites, like I say, it's a second car because they have low mileage requirements. And if you want a workhorse, you probably don't want an EV because there's challenging requirements of charging and driving range, and it's constantly on your mind. So if you have a need for a second car, an EV would be fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's the workhorse vehicle.
If you're in California or more of these temperate climates, would you recommend that they go ahead and get EVs if they can afford it, as far as just the use of it alone, or hybrid or gas?
Well, that's a personal choice. And in fact, you're entering a different subject because now you get involved in, is it ethical and moral to support EVs? The reason I mention that is all the materials to build an EV battery, the lithium and the cobalt, are coming from developing countries that have no environmental controls and no labor controls. And I wrote a book, Clean Energy Exploitations, which was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, that brings transparency to the fact that, we're exploiting people that have yellow, brown, and black skin in foreign countries. And the environmental degradation over there is atrocious.
Another thing, back in 2022, Hurricane Ian, there was at least a dozen cars that caught fire after being exposed to floodwaters. They short-circuited. Is this another issue that EV owners should be concerned with if they live in these conditions?
EVs, yes, some countries are banning EVs from parking in underground structures, primarily because when a EV battery starts fire, it's a chemical fire, and you can't put it out. Basically, all you can do is cool it. It takes a lot of water to cool it down, and so some of these places around the world are concerned if an EV starts fire in an underground structure, it could burn down the whole structure before they get the fire out. And so, yeah, EV fires are a problem. Transporters, a lot of these cars are made in foreign countries and they're shipped over here. A lot of ships have gone down because the fire is starting. One had, I think, 4,000 cars on it. They were inexpensive cars, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Maseratis. But an EV fire was started and they couldn't put it out, and the whole ship sunk, 4,000 cars to the bottom of the ocean.
That there was Ronald Stein, engineer and author of Clean Energy Exploitations. Amid growing tensions of diplomatic tensions between a widening gap between the EU officials and China, the EU Commission president has recently increased pressure on the Beijing regime, particularly regarding its role in the Ukraine war. Here's more from NTD's France correspondent David Vivez.
The gap between the European Union and Beijing appears to be widening. During the World Economic Forum in Davos on Thursday, Ursula von der Leyen emphasized the defense of democracy and Western geopolitical interests. The EU Commission president says that Russia, which is failing to achieve its strategic goals, now depends on China. Meanwhile, Chinese Premier Li Qiang delivered a straightforward appeal to multinational corporations, urging them to consider investing in the Chinese economy. According to China's expert and author Mathieu Sirvins, China's economy in 2023 was marked with weak demand, high debt, and a steep property contraction at home.
We have seen quite a lot of capital flight from Western companies in China. So there's a reason why the economic situation is very complicated in China. So there's really a pressure that's being put on Xi Jinping and his authority.
In Europe, several countries have changed their attitude toward Beijing. In Brussels, the relationship went from cold to colder, with the EU Commission calling on China to fix the trade imbalance and press Russia to end the war in Ukraine, two requests that haven't been addressed by Beijing. On the ground of human rights, the EU Parliament passed a resolution yesterday urging the Chinese Communist Party to end the persecution of practitioners of the spiritual discipline Falun Gong. This could be a momentum for EU to toughen its position toward the Chinese regime, Sirvins says.
What we should hope above all is that this resolution will give the European Commission and Ursula von der Leyen a little further courage and even firmness in the current phase of relations between the European Union and China.
In November, the CCP offered free visa travels to some EU countries, a measure a party spokesperson says is to support tourism. Sirvins believes this is a move to seduce Western investment and to lure tourists.
The EU Commission President needs to continue on the path of firmness and realism that she's been following in recent months with regard to the Chinese regime. And above all, she has to put an end to this Western naivety in the face of the seductive attempts of the Chinese regime, which for economic reasons will try to seduce the West because it needs its investments.
David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Now, over $30 million in taxpayer funding funneled to a Chinese AI expert. How was the grant approved while he took up jobs tied to the Chinese military? Lawmakers are demanding answers. Tune in tonight at 9:30 Eastern to NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. That's 6:30 Pacific. When we come back, Macy's and Google are cutting jobs to save costs. We'll tell you when workers will get their pink slips. Some employers favor older workers to avoid hiring recent college graduates. A new survey finds it's mostly due to poor interviewing skills. We speak with a workplace expert to find out how Gen Z can be better prepared. The winners are out for the NTD International Figure Painting Competition. We have the latest from the award ceremony in New York City.
Hi, I'm Elijah. When I grow up, I want to be a robotic engineer.
Robert does everything he can as a grandfather to provide for Elijah and his 5 siblings.
Not being hungry allows my grandkids to live, to enjoy life.
When I'm hungry, it affects me. Like if I'm trying to read, I'll go to sleep, or if I'm trying to do something around class, I'll get distracted.
Every child has dreams, and every child needs healthy food to make those dreams come true. 1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
It helps us, like if we need some food, we'll go get food.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call now or go online at helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. When you give by credit card, you'll receive this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you're a part of a movement, to ensure that everyone has the food and resources they need to thrive. Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. A new way for Android users to search content on their devices. Google is introducing a new feature that it hopes will run circles around the competition. Google's Circle to Search involves using a finger to circle snippets of text, parts of video, or videos to get instant search results. The company is also using AI for iPhone and Android mobile apps users to point a camera at an object for a summary about what is being captured. Both features are part of Google's effort to incorporate more AI technology into its products. And longtime retail giant is slashing jobs and closing stores as the world's biggest retailer is giving its managers a raise for the first time in a while. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's Business Brief.
Thanks, Jack. Macy's announced yesterday it's going to cut its workforce by 3.5% and close 5 stores nationwide. The move is intended to cut costs and recover from an inventory surplus dating back to 2022, and the cuts translate to almost 2,400 jobs across the U.S. Macy's employs over 94,000 people. The cuts come as an investor group puts pressure to take Macy's private with an almost $6 billion buyout offer. A Macy's spokesperson said the layoffs are part of a plan to become a more streamlined company and to meet the needs of an ever-changing consumer and marketplace. Now, besides Macy's, more layoffs are coming to Google in the coming months, it seems like, as the tech giant adapts to artificial intelligence and other changing industry trends. CEO Sundar Pichai warned of the layoffs in a company-wide memo. Job cuts at Google have already affected hundreds of employees in the past week alone. Pichai said the scale of the cuts won't be the same as last year's layoffs that trimmed Google's workforce by 12,000 employees. Some parts of the company won't be hit by this year's changes. And finally, for the first time in more than 10 years, Walmart managers are getting a raise. On Thursday, the major retailer issued a statement saying it's increasing their average pay more than 9%. That comes out to around $128,000. The pay range previously started at $65,000 will now start at $90,000. Managers can also bring in more money with bonuses based on store profits. This pay hike goes into effect February 1st. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Don. And a recent survey found by Intelligent found that many employers favor older workers and avoid hiring recent college graduates. It's mainly because they don't make a good first impression during the interviews. To find out why college grads are seen as unprepared for the workforce, I spoke with Joel Patterson, the founder of the Vested Group, a tech consulting firm.
With Gen Z, for several reasons, what we're seeing is and this isn't just about what I'm reading. I mean, I've experienced this when we're recruiting in our company too, and at times they don't necessarily seem like they've come prepared. Maybe their dress is a little bit sloppy, their hair isn't done properly, or they haven't prepared for the interview by doing a little bit of research. And again, you don't want to denigrate an entire generation, because I've got plenty of employees, Gen Zs, that are great employees, and they're go-getters and driven, but there are some, more often than what I've seen in the past, that show up just kind of not prepared. And it obviously, right out of the gate, you're gonna base some of your perspective on how they look, and so as soon as they show up, they've got to strike against them. And these aren't things that are really difficult to overcome. A lot of it is just understanding the etiquette and understanding what's expected of them when they walk in, and really recognizing that the soft skills like eye contact and good communication really makes a difference when you're going to visit for a new job potentially.
And on that, 1 in 5 employers that were surveyed here said that the graduates showed up with a parent to the job interview. And that was one of the reasons they didn't hire them or didn't want to. Is this sort of the etiquette that we should be prepared to accept now? Should employers lower their expectations of Gen Z, or should Gen Z sort of learn these new skills and get up there with the rest of the other generations?
Well, first of all, I've never had anybody show up with a parent, but that obviously caught my eye as well. And the fact that 20% of employers have seen that's troubling, right? I mean, if you're just getting a ride, that's one thing, and they can just wait in the car. But if they're actually coming into the building or wanting to be part of an interview, that's a real problem, and wouldn't want to deal with that. But I also think that Gen Z, it's not about whether or not we lower expectations. I don't think that's it. I think they've got to be able to step up a little bit. We've got to be able to recognize that we've got to manage them differently. We've got to coach them more than manage. We don't want to micromanage them. We've got to really invest in them and try to understand what makes them tick and dive into that. We've got to be able to find that unique attribute that they have and support it, instead of just berating them for not doing what we think they need to do.
And for all the Gen Zers out there, what can they do right now so they're better prepared and more likable when they enter the workforce?
Yeah, again, it's not tough stuff. It's really taking those steps and being intentional about. Do a little research on the company. Look in the mirror and make sure that you look presentable. Don't just show up there like you just rolled out of bed. And bring some energy. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of times, maybe it's because the pandemic and other reasons why they haven't been involved socially. They seem a little bit too laid back, I guess, at times. So bring some energy, show that you're interested, be excited about it. There's nothing wrong with that, and that'll separate you from the crowd. And that's really what you're trying to do. You don't need to be the best in the world. You just got to be better than the other people that are interviewing there. And sometimes that doesn't take much.
That was Joel Patterson, the founder of the Vested Group, a tech consulting firm with a culture-first motto. And NTD wrapped up its 6th international painting competition with an awards ceremony at the Salmagundi Club in New York City. After over a week of exhibition and a review from judges, winners were finally announced last night.
Merciful and courteous.
A total of 60 entries from 20 countries around the world were selected for the final exhibition. After a review from judges, there was no gold award given out this year, but 3 silver awards and 5 bronze awards were handed out. The triptych, Buddha's Grace, created by 3 artists from Japan and Taiwan, won the highest prize of the competition, the Silver Award. The work demonstrated themes of contemporary mythological scenes.
The biggest challenge is that these paintings are very large, and then there are also many characters. At the beginning of the design process, in order to put all 3 paintings together as one, we had to put a lot of effort into the planning. Each of us probably has at least 20 to 30 sketches for each of our works.
This piece, painted by Xingru Jiang from Taiwan, titled Choosing Conscience Amid Political Unrest, won the Profound Humanities Award. 6 artists also took home the Outstanding Technique Award, 2 artists with the Outstanding Youth Awards, as well as 35 honorable mentions. As one of the top figure painting competitions in the world, the traditional artwork promotes the concepts of innocence, purity, and beauty.
This competition is really unique in that it places an emphasis on really letting classical aesthetics and ideals of truth and beauty.
The judges encourage contestants to continue to sharpen their skills while staying true to ideas and themes that would promote the return of tradition and inspire the minds of future generations.
And I'm really grateful that there's a wonderful competition that NTD puts on that we can all get together and view and enjoy one another's work, and always worth it to come, and it's fantastic.
An album of this year's paintings will be released after the exhibit is over. The more than 60 finalist painting will be on display at the Salmagundi Club in Manhattan, open to the public free of charge until 6 p.m. today.
The title of the world's oldest dog is under scrutiny. Packaged dog food or home-cooked food? Which is healthier for dogs? We have that story and more in our Evening News with Tiffany Meyer tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'm Jack Bradley. Have a nice weekend.
The greatest threat facing the United States is the CCP.
The Epoch Times investigation team had studied the CCP for years, but what we uncovered was yielding evidence beyond our imagination.
With Chairman Mao, with the Prime Minister, our talks have been characterized by frankness.
The Clinton administration said, oh, don't worry about it. This will be a poison pill for China.
China's strategic goal is to make sure that the U.S. has 4 enemies, and one of them must be a terrorist group.
We are giving of our life's blood so that the Chinese Communist Party can survive and thrive.